you in the club?
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Kaylee, and today I'm going to show you how to make this awesome Little Mermaid beaded keychain. So follow along if you want to find out how. Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get a keychain like this one and about 4 yards of string or nylon cord like this, and you'll take the loop and put that through your keychain, and then take your 2 ends and string those through the loop, and then pull them tight. So then it should look like this, and if you pull really tight, they kind of separate so that there's 2 different sides. And the next step is to tape both ends and then trim the strings at an angle. And this is going to make it a lot easier to weave your strings through the beads. And then I'll just cut off the excess part and trim the string like this. And do the same thing to the other side. So now you have 2 ends that look like this. For the first row, I'll be using 4 red pony beads. And to start off, just take one of your strings, it doesn't matter which side, and loop the 4 beads onto it, or string the beads onto it. And by the way, I'm using about 4 yards of string, so it's really long, but it's important to use enough string so that you have enough room for all of your beads and so that you can tie a knot at the very end. So now I've got all 4 beads on here, and basically this first row is going to go across like that. So you basically want to kind of line it up with your finger so that it's in a row instead of being like this. Just kind of scoot it up like that. And then you're going to take your other string that does not have any beads on it, this one here, and go ahead and get your end. When you have the end of that string, you're going to loop that back through the 4 red beads that you just strung on. Okay, and when you do that, just pull your string all the way through, and then they're going to kind of line up at the very top. So this is going to be the very top of our mermaid's head. We're starting with her hair. And of course she's going to have red hair like Ariel, my favorite Disney princess. To do the next row, we're going to string the beads onto the left string, because we already did this one first. So for the second row, we're going to put 6 red beads on here. Got 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, and 6. And then just string those all the way up there. And this is going to be your second row. So again, with your finger, make this kind of scoot it up to the edge so that it's in another line. And once that's really tight, you can take the other string, the one that doesn't have beads on it right now, our right string, and I'm going to feed that back through the beads that I just strung. When you get it all the way through, just keep pulling on it until it lines up under your first row. Just like that. Okay, now we're on to our third row. So I'm going to go back to stringing beads onto the right side of the string, And for this one, you're going to add 1 red bead, then an off-white colored bead. This is going to be her skin color. A blue bead, which is going to be her eye. Another skin color bead. A blue bead one more time. Skin color. And finally another red bead. And then string those all the way up. And line them up again so they're under your second row. Once you have it pulled taut or tight, put your finger right there, and then take your other string, which is going to be the left side, and string that back through the row that you just strung. So the whole way through, it's like back and forth, back and forth. Last bead. And then pull that tight again. And now we have our little mermaid's eyes. And now we're on to the 4th row of beads. So pick up your left side of the string, and I'm talking about the left from your view. So this is going to be this side. For this one, we're going to need 2 red beads, followed by 4 skin color, and then another 2 red. Two red, 1, 2, 3, and 4 skin color beads, and then 2 more red beads. And then line that row up under your 3rd row, and take your right side of your string and loop the right side back through the beads that you just strung. And the tape that's on the end of your string should make this a lot easier. So don't forget that step, because it's going to make this process so much simpler. Okay, so now at this point your keychain should look about like this. You've got the first 4 rows of the mermaid. Continuing on to the 5th row, we're going to pick up the right side of the string, and this time we're going to be using another 2 red beads, followed by 3 skin color beads and another 2 red beads. Once you've pulled those taut, you can gather up your left side of the string and loop it back through the beads you just strung. And now your mermaid keychain should look something like this. Now we're going to move on to the left side of the string, and we're going to work on the 6th row. This 6th row is going to have 3 red beads, 1 skin color bead, and then another 3 red beads. Take the other side of the string and loop it back through. And now I'm just pulling everything tight once again. So now your mermaid should have her complete face, and we're going to work on the next row, which is going to be her neck. Actually, this is her face and this is her neck. So the next row is going to be her collarbone area. So for that one, we're going to need 1 red bead, 4 skin color, and 1 more red. So for the 7th row, I'm working with the right side of the string, and I'll string this with 1 red, 4 skin color, and 1 more red. Take the left side of your string, loop that back through, and pull everything taut. And now your mermaid should look like this. Okay, now we're gonna go on to the arms. So take the right side of the string and string on 6 skin colored beads. And then string on 1 more, total of 7. And what you're gonna do this time is loop your string through every one except this last one. And then you want to keep looping that through the previous row that you just did. Okay, and now she has 1 little arm. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side using the left string. And see, now they're both on the same side, but I'm putting one, the one I just strung through, on the other side. So I'm going to do the same thing here. String on 7 skin colored beads. And so that's 7. So take that same string, the left side string, skip the first bead and go through your other 6 arm beads. Pull that taut and then bring your string and keep going through these 6 beads right here. Okay, so now you've got 1 string on either side again. And we have Ariel's arms. For the next row, I'm going to work with the left side of the string. And I'm adding 1 red, 4 lavender, and another red. Then grab your right side of the string and loop through that row 1 more time. Now your design should look like this. For the next row, I'm working with the left side of the string again, adding 1 red bead, 3 lavender, and 1 more red bead. Pull that through. Grab your right string and string through it on the other side. And then pull that all the way through until they all line up again. Now we've got almost half of our mermaid done. For the next row, I'll be using a red, 3 skin color, and another red. Okay, so I've got my left side of the string, red, skin color, skin color, skin color, and red. Pull that all the way through And by this time you know the drill. Time to pick up the right side of the string and loop that through the row that we just strung. There we go. Pull that string taut again, and they should all line up, just like that. You're doing great so far. Now the next row is going to be starting on her tail. For this row, I'll be using the right side of the string, and I'm going to string on one red, one lime green, two skin color beads, another lime green, and another red. And pull that all the way through. And then take your left side of the string, loop that back through your row, and pull it taut. So far your mermaid should look like this. And it looks like I missed a bead, so I'm going to string that through. And that way it'll line up. And there is the top of her tail. Woo, she's swimming. For the next row, you're going to work with the left side of the string and add one red, one Kelly green, three lime green, another Kelly green, and another red. Okay, so once you have those strung on, you're going to take the right side of the string and loop back through all of the beads except for the last one, because we want the edges of her hair to be free floating. Push this one back through because I don't want that red one on there. So the way it looks is that these two are free floating and the other ones are connected by two strands, and these two are only by the loops that link them to the next row. So basically what I did is I just skipped the red on each side. Skip double looping the red on each side. So your left side of the string is going to go through the green ones and come out before I get to the red, and the right side of the string comes through the red, all the green, but skips the left side of the red. I hope that makes sense. So now that we've got the first part of her tail, I'm going to work on the rest of her tail, and luckily there's no more hair pieces. So that was probably the most confusing step, but basically all you want to think about is these middle green ones are hooked on twice and the red ones are only hooked on through one string instead of two. For the next row, I'm going to be using the right side of the string, and for this one you'll need two green, two lime green, and another green. And then pull that taut. Take your left side of the string and loop back through, and then pull that taut. And now we have the first part of her tail. To continue on with her tail, we'll use the left side of the string, and for this one you'll just need 6 Kelly green beads, pull that taut, line them up, and then grab your right side of the string and loop back through your 6 green beads. And then pull that taut as well. And they should all line up. Next, we're going to be using the right side of the string, and we're going to add 5 Kelly green beads. Line those up. Grab your other string and loop it back through your 6 green beads, or your 5 green beads. Okay. And then tighten all those up. Okay. And your mermaid should look like this so far. The next row is going to be 4 Kelly green beads. For these, I'm back to the left side of the string. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then pull those tight. And use your right side of the string to go through the 4 green beads. And again, you'll pull that tight. And she should look like this so far. On your right side, go ahead and string on 3 Kelly green beads again. And then take your left side of the string and loop through again. Okay, and now we can pull all of those tight. And your mermaid should look like this. String another 3 Kelly green beads onto the left side of your string, and then loop back through with the right side of the string. And this is going to make a row just like the last one. We're coming down to her fins next. The next row is going to be the last row of her tail, and then we'll be onto the fins. Using the right side of the string again, we're going to string on 4 Kelly green beads. Loop the left side of the string back through. And there you have her tail. So we're going to work on her fins next. Now using the left side of the string, string on 5 lime green beads. And you can use light green too if you have it, but I only have lime green, so that's what I'm using. So whether it's light green or lime green, this is going to be the beginning of her fins. And for this one, we're going to do this in the same exact way. So I just used the left side of the string to string them on. Now I'm using the right side to loop it back through. Okay, and then pull that taut, like so. And now we're going to do the fins, and this is going to be a little bit different than the other steps. Okay, so you're going to string on 11 beads on the right side. So I've got 3 already. I'm going to add 8 more. And this is where this step is a little bit different. Right now we're making one side of her fin. Got 8, 9, and that should be 11. Okay, so I'm not talking about this row, but this side, there should be 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now I am going to take the same side of that string, and I'm going to skip the very last one, and I'm going to loop through the next two. The next two only. Okay? So right now it should look something like that. This little last one isn't looped through twice, only the next two are. I'm going to do that last step one more time because I want to show you something. So we're going to be skipping this last bead here, but when you go to loop through again, you're going to loop through these two, but you want to start with this one on the left. Okay, so pull that through. And now it should look like that. So I didn't do that before because I looped through this one first, but you want to loop through this one first. So if you're pretending that these last three beads here are 9, 10, and 11, when you go back to loop through 9 first and then 10. Now taking the same side of the string, the right side, let's pretend these two beads are marked 7 and 8. So I'm going to take my string again and weave through first 7 and then 8. See what happens. And they should kind of start to line up like that. See? Next up, I'm going to take the same string, the right string, and we're going to pretend these three beads are 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to loop my string starting with 4, going through 5, and all the way through 6 here. And I'm going to pull that taut. Now let's see what happens. So see how they're kind of lining up? That's exactly what we want to happen. Okay? And then finally we have these three little guys right here. These I'm going to call 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to take that same string, the right side, and starting with 1, which is this guy, string through 2, and then finally 3. Okay, and then pull that taut just like we've been doing the whole time. And hopefully you might have to, kind of work with it. But hopefully once you pull that taut, it lines up like that. So that's how it should look so far. Now here is the next step. Take the right side of your string again, the one we've been working with, and now you're going to loop this one through the center bead of the previous row. So this is the one that I mean. So now I'm going to loop my string back through this center bead here in the middle of her tail, and only that one. And what this does is it kind of brings her tail, her fin, back to the middle. Now here I'm just tightening everything up so you can see it better. And that looks kind of funny right there, but according to my directions, that's how you do it. But I almost want to loop my string back through these because I feel like it would connect them all better. So I'm going to try that and see if it works. Instead of just looping it through this middle center bead, I'm going to come through my second row here on her fin one more time before looping it back into the middle of her tail. And I think that'll help it look a little bit better. Yeah, I think that looks better. So that's the way I'm going to do it. So again, just loop your string back through these three and then through the center of her tail. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing with the left side. And one more thing before we move on to the other side. My directions say to string this string through the other 2 beads. So instead of just stopping at her center piece, keep going through the next 2. Okay? And now we can work on the other side. So go ahead and grab your left side of the string, the original left, not the one that you just pulled through, and string on another 11 lime green beads. I think the tail is the trickiest part, or her fins, but other than that, I felt like this craft was like a lot easier than it looked. Got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay. Now using the same string, I'm going to loop back through 9 and 10. That's what we're going to call them. So again, I'm starting with this one and going back through, and I'm skipping the very last bead. Okay, so that should line up my beads. And now take the same string, and I'm going to go through the next 2 beads, starting with the inside bead, like that. My beads keep wanting to flop around. So then I'm going to take this one again, and I'm going to go through, if this is 4, 5, and 6, I'm starting with 4. You've got to pull it all the way tight for it to line up the way you want it to, but it's coming together. So now the last step here is to loop this string back through 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then pull it all the way tight again. Don't worry if it looks like a mumbo jumbo, because the more you pull on the string, the more it kind of lines up the way it's supposed to. Okay, now I'm going to pull both sides of the string to kind of show you what it's looking like. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the other side. I'm going to bring my string through my second row of her tail again. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then after you go through that second row, you're going to come through the center of the previous row again, which is this piece right here. So string through that one again, and instead of stopping there, keep going and string through the other 2 pieces from that row as well, the other 2 beads. Pull that through. Now let's see if we can get this all organized. Now she's got a tail. We've got these 2 long pieces here. Okay guys, so I've realized that there's a reason why we should listen to directions, because I realized after making her other tail that it actually does look better if you don't loop it through the second row again. So yeah, I definitely messed up. So what I'm going to do is kind of redo my left side later and come back to the other fin and follow the directions the way I was supposed to. So you guys can follow along if you want to do that too. Or you can go ahead and make 2 knots on either side of your strings and tie it up. I just didn't like how her tail kind of bulges out right here. So I am unstringing my left side of the fin, and I'm just gonna follow directions this time. and not try to make up my own rules, because sometimes that works, but in this case it does not. So I'm going to unstring these lime green 11 beads. And the mistake that I think that I made is when I looped back through. So I'm going to take this back out. I'm not going to loop through this second row again. So I'm going to unloop the second row. I thought I was being so genius by doing that, but I think it'll work out better. So I'm back to this step. And the thing I don't like is that I just don't like these 3 beads right here. To me, they just look weird. And it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They say to do 11 beads, but I don't really like the way that looks. But I'm gonna keep it like that. I'm gonna keep it like that, and I'm just gonna follow directions. So I'm gonna take the same string, loop it back through the center piece, yes, center bead, and then back through the other 2 on the other side. So not all 3, but just the other 2. Okay, I'm gonna have faith that this will work out. It may not be perfect, but you know what? It still looks like a mermaid, so. So now let's go back to the other side and string on our 11 beads. And I'm so sorry if I confused you with that thing. Basically, lesson learned is that I should pay attention to directions. Alright, so make sure that besides these 5, you string on 11 on this side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, so now pull that tight and you've got 11 beads over here on this side. Okay, so now we're going to take the same side of the string that we were just using, and we're going to skip this last bead and pretend that these 2 are named 9 and 10. So here's 9 and here's 10. Take your string and go through 9 first and then 10, and then pull it tight, and it should start to kind of loop around. Now take your same side of the string and pretend these 2 beads are called 7 and 8. And then pull that taut. So they should start kind of lining up again or stacking up. And now we're going to take the same string again, and this time we're going to go through beads 4, 5, and 6. Starting with 4. And then pull that tight. I know right now it looks like a mumbo jumbo, but if you kind of work with it, you'll see how it stacks up. Just pull it really tight, and then that's how it should kind of look. Okay, and now we're on to the next. So now I'm going to go through 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and now take the same string that you've been working with and go through the center bead of the previous row. So I'm talking about these 5 right here. You're going to go to this center bead and you're going to pull your string through the center one and the two on the other side. Make sure you don't keep going onto her other fin. Just go through those three. Now it's out. Okay. And let's see what it looks like when I pull these taut. I think you just kind of have to work with it with your fingers a little bit because they're gonna stack up and bunch up. But if you can get it the way you want it to, that's when you want to go ahead and tie your final knot. I don't know what's going on with my string right here, but it's looking a little funky. So once you straighten out her tail the way you want it, then you can tie a knot. My tail just does not want to stay put. Come on, tail. Cooperate. Okay, I'm gonna flip her over. Woo! Flip over my mermaid, and I'm gonna tie a knot with my two strings. I'm just tying a really simple double knot here. Okay, and then once you've got your knot tied, you can trim the ends with a pair of scissors. Okay, and flip her back over. And there is our mermaid keychain. Look, she's swimming. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed checking out this mermaid beaded keychain tutorial. And if you'd like to see more fun craft tutorials like this one, just let me know by clicking on the thumbs up. And leave me a note in the comments and let me know which design you'd like to see me do next. This is Kaylee for DCTC, and thanks for watching!